I think of myself as a performance artist. I hate being called a pop star. I hate that. And I don't know. I mean, I guess since my original training was dancing, so I think of myself primarily as a dancer.
But a performance artist is pretty good. It covers
yeah, I
the
like
wide.
that because it covers everything.
Covers acting, certainly.
It covers everything, and we have to act all the time.
What is happening, everybody? Trey here, and today in reactions to the classics, we are talking the queen of pop herself, Madonna, and she is the artist featured in this edition of the Legend series. I went ahead and listened to every single Madonna studio album. Fun and informative journey right here. And in this video, I'm going to share 10 things that I learned after listening to all of her records, as well as my top 10 songs and an album ranking as well. So really looking forward to this. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, welcome. And let's just get into it, man. If you don't know much about Madonna, okay, as you know, coming into this, I had only listened to a few of her records, her early stuff from the 80s. You obviously hear about what an icon she is, and at her peak popularity back in the 80s and 90s, just what a tour de force and cultural icon that she made herself to be. But it was fun to dive a little deeper into the career of her and just her background a little bit. So let's dive into that. If you don't know, right off the bat though, Madonna is the best-selling female artist of all time. Sales figures around 300 million people, so yeah, I don't think that's going to be broken anytime soon. She truly is the queen of pop and is the best-selling female artist ever. Like, you know, you have that there, yeah, you're cemented as a legend. She was born in Michigan, 1958. She grew up with an interest in dance. She actually scored a scholarship to the University of Michigan before she decided to drop out, and she hit the Big Apple, man. She went to New York City, took some odd jobs around there. She eventually was able to work in a bunch of dance troupes, and in 1979 formed her first band called Breakfast Club. Yeah, before the movie, people. Shortly after this, she formed another band called Emmy and the Emmys before deciding to take a shot at her solo career, which obviously was the wise decision right there. She caught the attention of DJ Mark Kamens, who produced her first single, Everybody. She then signed a deal with the Warner Brothers subsidiary Sire Records, and in 1983 released her debut album, which hit top 10 on the charts. Quite impressive for a debut right there. Her music, fashion, and overall popularity continued to rise after this. She had a #1 hit in her next album. Of course, I'm talking about Like a Virgin, which was the first album by a female artist to sell over 5 million copies here in the United States. Again, just another record in the long line of records that Madonna has or had to her name. The title track, Drum Controversy, which helped continue to propel her stardom even more, and she performed an iconic performance at the inaugural MTV Music Awards back in 1984, when they you know, actually mattered a little bit more than they do today in 2023. She went on a world tour in 85, and the following year released True Blue, which had 5 #1 singles. Count them, people, 5 #1 singles. That album itself has sold over 25 million copies. She debuted on Broadway in 1988. She again took the world by storm with her Like a Prayer album, and had another legendary video that drummed up controversy due to the religious imagery that was around it. Madonna grew up Catholic. That was a big part of her music and themes and her videos at various points throughout her career. Her greatest hits album, Immaculate Collection, was released in 1990. One of the best greatest hits albums that you're going to come across. Sold over 30 million copies worldwide. The record for a solo greatest hits album right there. Her documentary film Truth or Dare looked into her Blonde Ambition tour and was also the highest grossing documentary of all time at the time. I know I'm just throwing around a bunch of records and all-timers, but I think it just again shows the sheer popularity, not only here in the States, but of course worldwide, that Madonna has. Skipping to the 90s now, we're in 1992. Madonna continued her hot streak at the box office as she had appeared in various films throughout the previous decade and starred in A League of Their Own, and also founded her entertainment company Maverick, which was quite successful. Her Her next album, Erotica, and her coffee table book, Sex, continued her exploration of sexuality through art. In the midst of controversy because of this, she toned down her image in 1994, came out with a pretty good record in my estimation, Bedtime Stories, which produced the chart topper, Take a Bow. She won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Musical for her role in Evita in 96, and she won 4 Grammys for her next album, Ray of Light, that came out towards the end of the decade in 1998. That sold over 16 million copies and showed her blend of rock and electronic music, along with even taking a little bit of Eastern music influence right there as well. In 2000, she came out with the album Music, and that topped the chart in over 20 countries right there. I even remember the title track, Music. That's literally one of the first songs that I ever remember hearing. I would have been around, I think, 5 years old at the time when it released, and so it's one of those that I don't know, sticks out, and I got a lot of nostalgia with that song. She had a slight commercial hiccup with the album American Life, but came out with a children's book called The English Roses, which was the fastest selling children's picture book of all time. Just another side quest Madonna knocked out. In 2004, she was an inaugural inductee into the UK Music Hall of Fame. In 2005, she won the Best Electronic/Dance Album Grammy for Confessions on a Dance Floor. She went on a record-breaking tour shortly after, inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2008, had another #1 album with the record Hard Candy that same year. She has had the most top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100 with the release of 4 Minutes, and had another record-setting world tour. By the end of the decade in the 2000s, she was the best-selling single artist of the decade in the States and most played of the decade over in the UK. And you got to think at this point, y'all, she's obviously she's decades into her career and still has this amount of sway and pull with people. It's incredible. She performed the Super Bowl in 2012 and released her record MDNA, Madonna, which was by her 5th straight #1 album. During this time, she continued to grow her charities and fashion lines and continued to expand her musical palette with her 14th album, Madam X, which released in 2019, and at the time of this recording is her most recent album to date and her 9th #1 here in the States. She is the most successful solo artist on the Billboard chart and also the highest grossing female touring artist of all time, and also has a staggering 50 #1 dance club songs, which is the most for any artist on any other chart. I think the next most is George Strait on the country chart with like 38 #1s, but Madonna holding it at the big 5-0 on the dance chart. And that is a very, very brief encapsulation of the career and life of Madonna. When you have such a pop figure icon, and I don't throw around that word loosely, right? I feel that legend, icon, stuff like that gets probably thrown around a little too much these days, but Madonna really does fit that mold. There's college courses that study her life and career, and just her influence and magnitude really transcends, I think, music in a lot of senses. And there's not a lot of artists in pop music history that can say that. So with that said, it's time to go now to 10 things I learned after going through Madonna's catalog. The first is that the debut record, man, that Madonna self-titled album came out right out of the gate on absolute fire. And man, it's still, I think, some of the best pop music ever put forth as we sit here 40 years later after the fact, whenever it was released. And man, I mean, Holiday, Lucky Star, I mean, those are 2 tracks that I always can listen to, and just the pop goodness just flows through your veins right there, man. Madonna just came out of the gate on absolute fire. I love that. And, kind of piggybacking off of that, another thing I learned is that, man, the dance chart queen, I was mentioning 50 #1 singles, they still groove and pop here in 2023, and again showcase the longevity and the ability for Madonna to really make this timeless music right here. And it's tough, I think, too, especially in the dance or even pop form, where maybe taste shifts so quickly in the culture, right, to make something that is actually long lasting and holds up after all that time. Another thing that I learned is how impressed I was by her ability for her voice to blend well with multiple genres. She pulled off some, soaring ballads and higher registers, something like Livin' to Tell, or even Like a Prayer, to being able to keep up with dance tunes, of course, blending rock, straight up pop, even some hip hop elements toward the later part of her career here. Just shows that her voice has that versatility to really be able to pull off just about anything, I think. Another thing I learned, going off her timeless nature, man, her album covers do a great job of conveying her music inside, which is another mark, I think, of a true overall artist, right? Not only a musician, but somebody that looks at their life and career as a work of art and, really meticulously looks at everything. How am I going to present myself? How is this going to reflect the music that's within? I think a great example of this is a Ray of Light that came out in 1998. Kind of have a softer, more subdued, mature Madonna on the cover right there. Whereas you look at something like Erotica, right? Definitely showing off a little bit of the sexual side. Bedtime Stories, where she was trying to, again, go with a little bit of a softer sound, clean up her image. The cover of her there, again, just shows a little bit of a softer side and conveying what the music had. So really big fan of her covers. And another thing I learned, her first 5 albums, I'm talking Madonna, Like a Virgin, True Blue, Like a Prayer, Erotica, I think are among the best for a true bona fide pop star that there's been. She really showed that she wasn't afraid to take risks, to experiment musically, but also keep up a high bar of quality right there. I think that 5 album run is the best of her career. I don't think that's a hot take by any means, but it is always such a treat to go back, decades after the fact and see that this holds up. Even to this day, and if they were dropped today, man, they'd be wiping the floor with a lot of other quote-unquote pop stars that are releasing music right now, that's for sure. Another thing, kind of going off of that, is, man, I learned that she really is the archetype for the female pop star, the woman pop star out here, how they can become icons through their music, but also through other endeavors, right? Through fashion, through their own, brands. Obviously nowadays you're talking social media, but that persona in general, how you're going to conduct yourself. I really think Madonna was the archetype for that. Not to say that there wasn't great, women artists before her. Obviously there was, but to take it to a global, worldwide superstar level and not only be a flash in the pan, but sustain that for decades, I think Madonna is the foundation of that. People like Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Billie Eilish, Lana Del Rey, so many more have so much to owe to Madonna, I think, for how their careers have been, built on the shoulders of Madonna in a lot of ways. So just wanted to give kudos, and I always like to see the influence on the current day age from these legends of the past. Another thing I learned, so her quality of albums dropped, in my opinion, after Confessions on a Dance Floor. She's always open to exploring new styles and kind of pushing her I think comfort level and boundaries and collaborating with artists you wouldn't think that maybe on paper would work well. So that always impressed me, even if maybe not every experiment worked for me. I'm sure it worked for some of you. And even in the past decade or so, she's worked with everybody from Kanye, Justin Timberlake, Nicki Minaj, Timberland, even Quavo from the Migos, showing that hip-hop love right there, which I enjoy, man. So kudos to Madonna for that. And she, going off of that, she had such a great ear for collaborating with some of the most talented in the industry, just in her general career, even going back to the 80s. It's just such a who's who of production credits and musical credits, session musicians, everybody from Prince, Nile Rodgers, Jeff Porcaro, one of the great drummers, session drummers ever. Producer Patrick Leonard has to get a name shout here, especially for his work with her early on in her career in the 80s. You, of course, have Babyface, Justin Timberlake, Timberland, just to name a few, a who's who's of producers and musicians right there. And Madonna always knew, it seemed, how to surround herself with people that would elevate her great talent to new heights. And another thing here, I'm kind of cheating because I usually keep this to just, what I listen to. But, I mean, you can't talk about Madonna and not talk about her legendary music videos, right? From a few of my favorites, like A Prayer, Vogue, Oh Father, which David Fincher, the great David Fincher, one of my favorite, movie directors, directed. Bedtime Story. Those are just a small sample, again, that shows the craft that Madonna has as an artist and how seriously she takes it. And I mean, these are amongst the most acclaimed and artistic music videos that there have ever been, man. And so I can only imagine back in the day, man, turning on MTV, flicking through the channel, coming across something like the Vogue video or Oh Father or whatever year it would have been, whatever Madonna was coming out with, and seeing what she had up her sleeve next. And the final thing I learned we always include in every Legend Series video is this artist underrated, properly rated, or overrated. I would say Madonna is properly rated as a musical icon for sure. She not only had the charisma, the looks, the influence, but the musical ability to back all of that up. And I feel when you get to her level, right, where you become a pop icon, sometimes the music even takes a back seat to where you forget about how great a lot of these tunes and albums were in their day and even to this day. So with that said, we're now going to transition to my album rankings for Madonna. Don't come after me too hard, people, but I would love to hear. I know Madonna obviously got a incredible fan base. I'd love to hear your rankings down below. For me, going top to bottom, I have to put Madonna self-titled up there at the top. I just love that record, man. I think it's so concise, so gorgeous on the ears. The production just always draws me in, and that's, I think, always going to be the top for me. But next up, I have Erotica, True Blue, Like a Virgin, Ray of Light, which I know is some people's number ones. Still a great album, just gets into my top 5. Then I'm going to Like a Prayer, Music, Confessions on a Dance Floor, Bedtime Stories, and then towards the bottom, I got some of the more recent albums, but we have American Life, MDNA, Hard Candy, Rebel Heart, and then Madam X, ending off my album rankings here. And now to my top 10 songs. When you have a catalog as vast as Madonna's, it's like, how can you narrow it down to 10? But I tried my best. Again, I'd love to hear your top 10 or 5 or however many you want to give us in the comments down below. In no particular order, man, I'm going Holiday, Lucky Star, Music, of course, gotta share love for that, for the nostalgia. Vogue, of course, love the intro to that. And, with a lot of these tunes, they have dance mixes as well, or different types of remasters and mixes. So that's always fun, too, whenever you really love the studio version of a song, but then you go to the extended version or something else, and maybe even pick something else out that you enjoy. I also gotta show love to Like a Virgin, Into the Groove, Papa Don't Preach, Deeper and Deeper, Cherish, and Like a Prayer. Though, some of those more basic picks, but dude, they're classic, legendary songs for a reason. So that is our video on the Queen of Pop, Madonna, right there. Man, this was a great time going through her catalog, man. And I'll also have a playlist with my favorite Madonna tunes down and linked in the description to the Spotify playlist if you want to check that out. And as I said, man, let me know your thoughts on Madonna just in general down in the comments section below. And shout out to all the patrons as well who voted on this to be the next Legend Series video. We are going to have a poll already up over on Patreon right now if you want to check that out. We're either doing the Beach Boys or the Rolling Stones for next month's Legend Series video. So another very heavy hitter type video coming in. And be sure to check out the other videos in this series as well. If you liked what you saw today, hit that big red subscribe button and that thumbs up too. That helps us out here at RTTC. But until next time, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Long live Madonna. And until next time, I will see you.